It's episode 50. I discuss, does personal branding really matter? Claire Bahn, personal branding strategist and CEO and co-founder of the Online Profile Pros and Claire Bahn Group. Claire firmly believes that not having a personal branding is no longer an option. Whether we recognise it or not, we've already have a personal brand, and it's either making or losing us money. She's spent decades empowering entrepreneurs, executives and startup investors and founders to become leading authorities in their space. She helps entrepreneurs leverage their personal brand to develop the authority, influence and trust they need to exceed their business goals. Please enjoy the episode, and thanks for being a fab listener. Support me by subscribing and telling your friends. Welcome to the Johnny Ross audio experience. I'm Johnny Ross, founder and digital marketing strategist of Fleek Marketing. Each podcast I'll be bringing you an expert to inspire you, to give you some great business growth takeaways, and to get you thinking about marketing and the bigger picture of how businesses can improve, adapt and grow. I look forward to sharing this with you on each podcast, so here we go. Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us. We are live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. I've got Claire Bahn with me. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Johnny. Thank you for having me.
I'm so sorry. I only realized just as we got into the green room that it's like quite early in the morning for you right now. You're in LA.
Yes.
And it's you've got your coffee, so hopefully
Yes.
that'll keep you
Yes.
going. Yeah.
Yes.
But thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be discussing personal branding today. And, do we need it? Does it matter? Is it going to make any difference? And could it negatively affect our ROI? Well, let's explore those things. We're going to explore those things. But Claire, you are a personal branding strategist. You're also the CEO and co-founder of Online Profile Pros and the Claire Bahn Group.
Yes.
Claire, how did you get into personal branding?
Basically, I always say I cut my teeth working in Fortune 500 companies in New York City, and I was doing marketing and PR events for them, and I really learned a lot about marketing, but I really had a passion for acting, so I went back into acting and went out for commercials and movies, TV, all that kind of stuff. And what I learned is that I needed to personally brand myself. So what I lacked in kind of acting experience, I was able to use my marketing experience and get a website, get all my social media handles, start kind of creating content around who I was and how a casting director should cast me or call me in for a job. And it really started to make me think about the fact that I could kind of mold that narrative. This is the type of roles that I'm right for. This is what you should call me in for. So if you don't know anything about acting and how it works, you submit your agent manager will submit you for a job, and little teeny thumbnails will show up on the screen. So basically this thumbnail needs to pop. So it needs to speak. This picture needs to speak to them. Obviously having a great photographer and all that kind of stuff, but you really start to realize it's so important how you put yourself out there, and that picture can be so important. I mean, your LinkedIn photo is super important. But that was my kind of first foray into it. And then I had my acting friends, in classes and improv class and things like that. They were like, hey, can you build my website? Can you brand me? Can you help me figure out what my type is? And it kind of went from there. Then I started Online Profile Pros. And basically, we help people build their online profiles for online dating and LinkedIn. So you never really think about the fact that you need to be personally branded for online dating, but super important, right? You don't want to go out there with a bad profile. You don't want to go out there with bad, written profile and all that kind of stuff. So it's so important to help, again, craft that narrative. And then from there, we were, this was in 2019, I was in San Francisco pitching Online Profile Pros for funding, and I was on a podcast with a very well-known angel investor here in California, and his name is Jason Calacanis, and he basically came up with the idea. He was like, you kind of started out with essentially, if you know anything about like Uber, he's like, you started out with like Uber X, where you need to go with Uber Black, go high end. And you can see that episode I have it on my website because it was that pivotal for me. So anyway, he came up with the idea of personally branding people. He's like, go after like, angel investors and real estate agents. And if you ever, I don't know if you have the shows like Millionaire or $1 Million Listing Los Angeles and New York and everything like that. Like these type of people,
great shows,
perfectly branded, right?
Yeah.
Everything down to what they wear and all that kind of stuff. So that is, my first client was an angel investor, and he's still a client today. So that is how it came to be.
You've just made me think. E-Myth Revisited. What was Michael Gerber? Have you ever read that book, E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber? It's a great book about processes and sales, and it's sort of how to take a small business and make it bigger. And there's a big story about McDonald's in there and everything else. But one of the things he talks about, because you just said, even to what you wear, is that he's all about testing. So, go out there and test a blue suit versus a gray suit and see if there's a difference. And so how important, because I'm curious actually, maybe straight off into a tunnel here, but in terms of clothing, how important is clothing in personal brand? And the reason I ask it is because I think COVID has changed a lot in terms of how people are dressing. So is how important is clothing in this, Claire?
I mean, really any way you want to use your personal brand for dating, LinkedIn, a job, clients, whatever, it's going to be super important. So, I definitely think if you have to make an impact in a video or in a little photo or whatever you're using, use something. I mean, obviously I wouldn't wear black because my hair blends right in. I know this is a bad idea, but you know what? This is a really warm cashmere sweater. So I was like, I'm wearing it. But
for people listening, Claire looks great even so.
but like, this is more what I should be wearing, right? Because it's such a contrast with my skin.
So a contrast of color.
So things like that and how to look good on camera, and don't wear patterns because you get the moire effect and things like that. So it's very, very important. I think that with COVID, that people have that it's okay to dress down, and you can make that choice. But I mean, my business partner and I, we will always even if like he has schlubby pants on or something, he'll always put his button down on for his meetings. He's like, hey, here I am, and then he'll have his t-shirt on underneath or whatever. So it's funny because I just think that it is very important because it makes a statement. And it's just, if you really think about the fact that you're on Zoom, it's such a little thing. And I do think that, I put on makeup this morning, and it was kind of hard to put on makeup when it's super early, but it makes an impact. And it's that unspoken kind of, the words. Actually, I'm friends with a couple of wardrobe stylists, and we actually have wardrobe stylists on staff that will work with all of our clients. And this is the kind of stuff that we talk about, really how they are portraying themselves, and the type of clothing that we want them to wear in their photo shoots, because we do initial photo shoot when we onboard somebody, because we want it on their website. We want it to use it for social media imagery or anything else. YouTube thumbnails. If you think about, the photo that you use for your podcast, all of those things say something. There's a reason why you're leaning on a brick wall. There's so many things that kind of go into that, and it speaks volumes.
I'd like to take credit for that. But I think it was the photographer that told me to lean into the wall at the time.
Well, it's a good photography technique, because you can kind of get the bokeh. Do you know how it kind of blends in? The bokeh is where the background blurs.
Oh, I don't know if I know the bokeh. Oh, I need to get to
It's
know it.
called Bokeh. Bokeh.
We've already had a comment, Helen Morell. It's always good to provide examples for us to work from, Claire. So that's obviously helping already. If you are watching live with us right now, you're very welcome to ask questions. As I said, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. And we're going to talk about how personal branding can increase business opportunities, increase visibility, increase credibility, and whether it really matters. So let's just understand it here, Claire. If is personal branding needed for all types of business people? Is it only certain types that work better? Is it sort of small businesses? Is it big
Everyone.
organizations? Tell us.
So one thing I want to say is, while what you wear is important, it's kind of yes, what you wear is really important. Wear something that is impactful, and then move on, because that is a very, very small portion of what you need to do. And so that's.
Yeah, and I'm glad you've said that, because I said I was taking us into a little tunnel there.
So I want to make sure that that is like, it's like yes, and now move on.
Let's scrap clothing. Let's move on. Yeah.
Well, no, but it's important. But I just don't want to get so focused, analysis paralysis on. Oh no, I have to wear these things. So basically,
big picture.
Yeah. The most important thing is that you need to demonstrate your expertise to gain, to get the know, like, and trust factor. Whatever you want out of your personal brand, whether it's a job, opportunities, clients, press, speaking engagements, you have to demonstrate your expertise and why you should get those opportunities. And I think that is really, really important. Whether you are trying to get a job, right? You are up against a lot of people. There are a lot of people that are not, making sure they're personally branded and making sure that all of their stuff is kind of, just really buttoned up. They're sloppy. Don't be sloppy. So that, that is really, really impactful. And then if you're looking for opportunities, we have a lot of angel investing and venture capital, private equity, people that we work with, and they want deal flow, because they can't be out there going like, hey, do you want some money? Like, that's weird and sleazy. So they have to go out there and talk about why they're the best, why they're a great angel investor to work with, why you want to work with them and not somebody else. So that is how they go. And so it's through testimonials, social proof, all this kind of thing. So it's sharing information that actually helps people. And it's kind of turning the thought process of how to market yourself upside down. It is not about selling. It is not about telling people why you're fantastic. You have to help people through content that you're sharing. Like, the comment that was just there, thank you for those actionable tips. That's the kind of content and information that you have to share, because they're like, oh, you do know what you're talking about. I'll keep listening. I will follow you. I will subscribe to your podcast. Those are the things that you want people to do. And they're not going to do it if you're just like, hey, I'm here, I'm great. Oh, did you know I'm great? Did I tell you that I'm great? Doesn't do anything. You have to tell them why. And that is only through giving great information. I mean, my team will constantly be like, so Claire, do you want me to mention that maybe they should join your masterclass and do these things? I'm like, oh yeah, I completely forget to sell. Because I'm always in giving mode, but it works for me. Because I mean, when I have people that'll sign up to do consultations with us, be one of our concierge clients, to start working with us, and I mean, it's almost 10 out of 10. They'll say, how did you find out about you? YouTube and Google, or YouTube, Google, LinkedIn, Instagram. They'll find me on my channels, and that is why it's so important, because I didn't, it's not like I recognize their name, like, oh, this is someone I've had a conversation with on social media. No, they literally saw something that I shared, or one person said that I was mentioned in an MIT forum. MIT, awesome. I didn't even go there. But you see what I mean? People will talk about you. That's why it's important. So it doesn't matter. I mean, think about anything you want. Do you want to get into that really cool club, private club, Soho House, whatever it is, right? It's your personal brand. They're going to dig deep into Google and your social media, and who do you know, all that kind of stuff. So really, your personal brand will really follow you anywhere you go. So if you're not paying attention to it, you should at least know what's out there about you, because you may not like it.
Yeah, so like you said, it's not just for people looking for a job. It could be an investor, an angel that's wanting a deal flow. Like you said, you might be in, the best job in the world in a large organization, but if you want more deals, then personal branding is one of the ways to achieve that. That's what we're saying here, isn't it?
Yeah.
And interestingly, because I've done a lot of talks to students at universities just about to graduate, going from student to salary, how they achieve that. Well, they need to think of their online reputation and actually what picture they've painted on social media.
Yes.
And
that, crazy bong photos.
Yeah.
Get rid of those.
Exactly. Yeah, just hide them. I guess you've sort of insinuated this because I've always thought that we've talked about B2B and B2C, but it's P2P, it's people to people, isn't it?
Yeah. And H to H, whatever we want to, human, yeah.
Human to human, even better. I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, I was actually corrected by my business partner. I said P2P, and he's like, "No, it's H to H." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
Is that more politically correct?
I don't know. I actually said it on a call with one of my clients. So.
Wait till it's human to alien. That'll be soon. But who knows?
I live in Los Angeles, so I've heard it all.
So where I was going with this was that people buy from people that they trust. Where I was going with this was people need trust in the equation when they're buying something.
So
does personal branding help build trust? Yes.
Well, so I was sorry to talk over you on that one.
Absolutely.
Basically, the story that I wanted to say is that I literally, when we bring on a client that we work with, we have to agree that there is synergy in the working relationship. So we had a client early on that he had in the B2B space. It was super niche. I mean, so unbelievably niche. And the people that he was dealing with were, CXO level people. They were constantly being sold to on LinkedIn. Like you just can imagine being bombarded, right? Everyone wants to talk to you. Everyone wants your money. Everyone wants 5 minutes of your time, right? There's no way that you can go about it and be different because everyone's tried something with these people. So basically their marketing department, his business, because he was a CEO, his marketing team was like, okay, we need to kind of think out of the box. Let's get you personally branded. But his whole thing, and it could have been this mindset of obviously knowing the bottom line and the stress of, I need to make sales. But you can't lead with that because that is desperation and that will repel people rather than, magnetize them to you. So we couldn't get him to understand that he needed to not be fixated on the leads and the sales and turn everything into a sale. I kind of think of a rattlesnake just going in, going, you don't want to strike. It is not attractive. It will make people go whoa. I mean, think about how you would react if a snake went after you. You'd be like, okay, I'm leaving. So you really have to think about that. And we ended up parting ways because it just did not work. We just did not see eye to eye. And now when we bring somebody on, I mean, that is one of the key things we lead with in our first discussions with them is you need to lead with giving. You need to have essentially altruism in your heart when you are doing this, because people can see through that. If people thought I was lying, they wouldn't trust me, and they wouldn't be like, oh, Claire, let's talk about this, because they would think they're oh yeah, there's something about her that's just really off. Ugh, I think she's lying. You can't, there's no way to hide that. Even in this two-dimensional kind of thing, you can see it in people's eyes. And that's the kind of thing that's why you can't run from it. Right.
Yeah. So,
and storytelling and telling real things that have happened and just being real, just being authentic, that will connect people to you. I've shared stories for me when I was having to go and do a lot of pitching in Silicon Valley. It's very scary, going up there. And I grew up in San Jose, so I'm not scared of being in San Jose, but like going and doing these pitches and in front of all these people, I felt like I was 12 years old and I was like kind of shrinking. Right. So complete imposter syndrome. I'm like, I don't belong here. I don't, and actually one of my mentors, for the former CEO of eHarmony, if you're familiar with that website. So Grant Langston, he's on our board of directors for Online Profile Pros. And I talked to him about it and he's like, yeah, we've all dealt with it. I'm like, you too? So you start to kind of, and I did a blog about it, and it gets a lot of comments and people coming and looking at it. When you start to share real things that other people will inevitably deal with, that makes you magnetic. That makes you real. And that's how your personal brand can work for you. So yeah, it's so important, and it's so important not to sell, because the act of giving will sell, because it's trust.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a few comments, and I'll just cover a couple. And I think that, to be fair, this one is sort of, you've answered some of this, but let's just clarify. So Stephen Cree, should projecting a personal brand ever come at the expense of being authentic? He's then followed it up with, I think I know the answer to that one. I think that was whilst you were talking, but is there not a danger of projecting someone other than your true self?
I mean, yeah, you should always be your true self. You know, I fully believe in that. Yeah. That's the thing is, because I work with a lot of coaches too. And you are never like, a lot of people in the coaching space, they're afraid of competition. So they're afraid of like, oh God, there's all these people in this space. It's a crowded space. I shouldn't jump in there. Well, if there's no one in the space, then you probably shouldn't jump in there either, because maybe there's really not a market for it. So basically, you need to figure out how to differentiate yourself from the other people. And you need to do that with your personal brand, and you need to be authentic. And kind of like what I was just talking about with that client that we fired, I don't want people like that ever. I will not hire people like that again. If they come to me, I'm going to tell them it's not a good fit. So I think and lately, really, truly, the people that have come to us have really been in a good space, have understood the need to give. And I think that's because I'm projecting that. I have told that story about that client. I immediately started telling it as soon as he laughed. I was like, he probably was like, I hate her. But I needed to tell that story because I need people to understand who I am and what I want. So that I have to be authentic. I also lived in New York. So I lived in New York a long time. It's kind of funny. I mean, but I think a lot of times that's what people really like.
Yeah.
And just a straight shooter.
I was about to say that actually, I think the more authentic you are, the more people can buy into you, and the more latch on and like. And actually, I don't think it's a bad thing if people start disliking you, because you can't please everyone. What you create,
and you don't want to work with those people, right?
No, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Go work with somebody else.
Helen Morel answered Stephen as well. She's put, I think if you tried to project something which was misaligned with who you are, your values, your business values, etc., then you'd become exhausted really quickly. It would be hard to maintain the act permanently. So I think that's a fair point. She had another point, which was, I think when you're running a small business, you are the brand. People are invested in you and how you show up to serve your clients, potential clients, has to be consistent. Are you the brand for in a small business, in a big business? Are you the brand?
Yes. I mean, there always needs to be a face, essentially, because again, you mentioned that the P2P, H2H, whatever you want to call it, people connect with people, not faceless entities, not faceless brands. So, even for like PE firms that we work with, right? I need a person that's going to be the face, that's going to talk about why they're great. You wouldn't think about venture capitalists, venture capital firms, right? You wouldn't think of them having a face, but they have started to learn that people are like, I have a choice where essentially who I'm going to give part of my business to. I have a choice. Do I want someone that's just going to I always think about like Pretty Woman, and I know that it was different, but anyway, the Richard Gere character went in and he would just buy them and just like destroy the companies, right? So you're like, I don't want to bring in somebody like that that's going to come in and destroy my company, right? Going to break it up into all of its parts and leave me with the bad stuff. I won't say that, so it won't curse this early in the morning. But But you want to know that, right? And that's all done really through your personal brand. And it's so key when you are a solopreneur, when you are a small business owner, because who are you going to have do it? Like, who else is there? And there's nobody better than you. And that was for me one of the biggest things when I was really scared about going up and pitching my business, when I was pitching Online Profile Pros for funding, is that there really wasn't anyone better. I mean, my business partner, but I was better at kind of talking and public speaking because of my acting experience than he was. But yeah, there wasn't anyone better that knew the business that could sell the business. So that's why it's so important.
So how do you go about starting to personal brand? What are some of the key things that you could consider doing, perhaps if you've not really put yourself out there before and instead you focused on pushing your LinkedIn company page, which so many small businesses do? What are some of the things to consider and how to flip that?
Well, I actually just did this for something else. So I kind of like had 6 tips. Hopefully I can remember them all because I don't have them on the screen. But one of first and foremost is that you need to know who your audience is. So, well, actually, number one was actually know your goals. What are your goals in personal branding? Is it clients, deal flow, speaking engagements? Know what you're trying to get out of it, and then know who your ideal audience is, right? So if it's speaking engagements, you want to get in front of those people. You want to connect and deal with those people. So then you need to essentially craft the narrative, craft content around what those people are looking for, what those people need, how they could kind of organically find you. So that is going to be very, very key. And then something that we talked about earlier, I think when we were in the green room, but basically you need to be consistent. You need to figure out how much you can actually take on and don't overdo it, because then you're going to quit. So, because we were talking about how you're like, how many times have you done LinkedIn Lives? And I'm like, I did it a couple times. And I was like, you know what? It is just not one of the 80,000 things I'm going to add to my plate because I just can't do it. I haven't learned TikTok. I haven't learned Reels. My team will take videos that I do and I make a reel out of it because I am not doing this crazy stuff, not happening. So you have to really figure out what you want to do. And the key thing too is, like if you love TikTok is like your jam, but your clients aren't there, then use it for play. Don't do anything embarrassing that would repel those clients, but go and be very active on the platforms where your ideal audience is active. Don't be focused over here going like, oh my God, I hope that I get a TEDx talk by doing, things on TikTok. Could it happen? Maybe, but kind of not thinking that's where they really need to be. So just figure out all of those things and be consistent. And the key thing is creating content that your ideal client is asking for, right? You're kind of teeing them up to want to work with you. I work with some, real estate agents. And one of my favorite things, because it was one of the questions I had when we sold our house is, do I really need to stage my house? Can I sell my house without staging it? Tell me why. So, research that kind of thing. And I'm in Los Angeles, so it's the likelihood of a Los Angeles based real estate agent showing up in my feed is higher than somebody else. So all the algorithmic things show up, right? I'm probably not going to get a real estate agent in the UK because of where I live.
Of course.
So, all of these things go into play, but then I see this person, I'm like, okay, let me see what other things he or she has done. Should I work with them? It's a way to tee up your ideal client for what you want, for them to work with you, for them to hire you. So so many things, but I kind of, it's a lot and I don't want anyone to be stressed about it, but you're talking about steps. So those are the steps that you need to take before you start creating the content.
Do you need to stage your house to sell it?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say yes.
No, weirdly enough, and it's expensive because we moved out of our New York apartment and moved across the country. This was in 2013, and yeah, like we had to take all of our furniture out. So our furniture was in storage for 6 months because if you ever had dealt with New York real estate, you know that it can take forever to close, just because of co-op board approvals and all this crazy stuff. Anyway, so but we took all our furniture out, and they're like, well, you could significantly reduce the what price you get, because if you think about how big New York apartments are, even if you have, we had a 2-bedroom apartment, it still can be kind of tiny. And if you have no furniture in there, it can, people can't conceptualize, like, can my couch fit here? Could this be my child's bedroom? So yeah, it really has a big effect.
So yeah, no, I thought it would be a yes.
Yes.
So in terms of personal branding, one of the key messages I've heard from you is a lot of it is about giving and being resourceful, being helpful. What are there any other particular strategies? I've seen people, for example, create Facebook groups where and I know that you said be on the platform where your audience is. Mm-hmm. But one of the techniques I've seen a lot of people that are doing personal branding well is where they've created a Facebook group and they are sort of just being themselves in there all the time and creating some sort of fan group. Is that something that you often see, or is that do you see other examples of that on different platforms in different ways, or is this just about making sure that your face is on everything, as simple as that? So when the content goes out, making sure that there's a face to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing I want to mention, because you, back to your earlier point, was that I've always been a storyteller. So I can't answer just yes. It's always yes and blah. Anyway, so that's why my stories are longer. But anyway,
I like it.
Thank you. And as we were talking about earlier, that's the key to improv. Yes, and
which I didn't know.
Yes.
How long did you do acting until? What age did you move on from acting?
Basically, the kind of the acting world in the US changed. Everything went towards non-union, non-SAG. And so the kind of the money wasn't there. And I know that it sounds, we all have to live. We all have to make a living, pay your car payment, mortgage, whatever. Right. And
acting is tough.
I wasn't able to do that, even though I booked jobs. The jobs that I booked, literally, I mean, I did commercials. Do you know Target? Yeah. So I did a Target commercial for the holidays. I was, I call it Claire en Español, because they had me in Spanish and English. Because that's often what I did. I also did Walmart, same, Spanish and English, and Nissan commercials. So if you think about those are huge companies. Back in the day, probably in like the 90s, you would make 6 figures from that. So if you think about the reality of you booking a job, you probably would only book one of those huge, commercials once a year, but you could live on that. But that's the kind of, but yeah, then it became, you're making 4 figures. You're like, what? Like, this isn't going to pay it's not going to keep me going for a whole year.
So go on then. So what are some of the things the strategies that you've seen in terms of personal branding, and is it just about putting a face out there? Is that the way? Is that a technique?
Not a fan of Facebook Meta, whatever. I'm not a fan.
Meta,
I know
you're
that
right.
I'm on here. Yeah.
Meta. Yeah.
So I don't like a lot of their kind of invasive privacy policies, but they all of them have it. So I'm not a big fan of that. Basically, I belong to some Facebook groups, but they have to drag me in there kicking and screaming pretty much. I fully believe in an omni-channel approach. Everyone has probably 2 channels where their ideal clients are, maybe more. And that's where you need to be. So I definitely do not this, especially last year, like I saw the craziest stuff happening in Facebook where if you said the C word, you would be cut off. If you misinformation, you're like, we just randomly said it in passing. So you do not own even your Facebook group. And
I wasn't thinking COVID.
no, it's a
I wasn't thinking COVID when you
no,
said
no,
that.
no. Yeah, I call it the C word.
It took me a minute to realize that you were talking about COVID.
Yeah, no. Whenever we film my podcast or one for my clients, we tell them not to say it because if we are on YouTube, literally they will not allow it to have as many views. Like it's a significant cut.
Yeah.
And you can't run any ads like on it if it has it. Like literally, it will not go through Google Ads. So you start to see this, you're like, whoa, this is crazy. So if you think about the fact that you're always really at the mercy of all of these algorithms, why, kind of go suicide with one? You can't.
Yeah.
One coach
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. So basically this one coach that I was working with, she basically was doing a live and she was doing, it was a 5-day masterclass that she was doing. And she was cut off during her live stream and told that she was giving that basically she had stolen the information she was giving. It's like,
wow.
What?
Wow.
What? Yeah. Bizarre. But basically people signed up, it kind of hurt their business. And but if you'd had, like you were saying, I'm on, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on YouTube, you can find me on Facebook. So if you knew, oh my God, why did his Facebook go? I got to go find him on YouTube. So, you can't be at the mercy of these platforms. And that's the kind of thing that I've realized, and I put a lot of effort into Instagram, and things just started to get harder to get your visibility, harder to do all these things. So yeah, omnichannel approach, definitely, be in multiple places, because if you're not, you could kind of be bitten by these algorithmic changes that you have nothing to do with. So
and one of the things that we were talking about before we went live was around, look, this isn't about just getting it right now and setting it. It's about a continual conversation. It's not about fixing your LinkedIn profile and just leaving it. It's so how often should you be looking back at LinkedIn, or is that the message about don't get too stuck in trying to have to think of something right now for it, but actually you can mold it very easily next week. So it's get started.
Yeah. And you don't get fixated on these like static things, right? Oh my God, I'm not going to put any image up because I don't know if it's perfect.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people get fixated on the personal branding statement. Calm down. It's not a make or break. It's really not. So do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is?
I do.
Okay. So,
he's big,
Curse
he's
is
big
like
on
a
TikTok.
sailor. Yeah. Curse is like a sailor. If you look at how he shows up awful. The guy is a millionaire. The horrible video. The video is never clear. It's never HD. It's like a shaky, iPhone photo. It's awful. But, and you think about his personal brand, he's ever shaven completely. His hat's all weird. Yeah. So it kind of looks.
You've got a serious dislike to him, haven't you?
No. But if you think about how he's presenting himself, it might be kind of like, who is this guy? But he gives really good information.
Yeah.
He shows up consistently. And he's got a big team that'll splice and dice all of his information over and over and over. But if you think about the fact that he shows up, even though he kind of shows up and doesn't look perfect, there's probably somebody that looks more polished, right? But who are you going to work with? Probably you want to work with Gary V, because you're like, the guy knows so much. And he consistently learns. He'll tell you he doesn't know everything. He puts a lot of effort into giving, into his team, into things that a lot of people don't do. And you kind of look at that, you're like, wow, not only is he really smart in, he started out in wine. If anyone even knows that at this point, because he does everything. Now he's doing crypto. Now he does baseball cards. You're like, what does the guy not do? But the thing is that you look at how he kind of lives his life, and he's very true. He's very authentic, and he truly does care about the people that work for him. If you've ever seen, I do follow him. He talks a lot about his team building and that kind of thing. And that's a very, very important thing for building his business. And that's probably why he's been so successful. So don't get stuck in, this perfection, because it's the content and the sharing that is going to be more important than anything else. And you can see the way Gary does it. You can cut out the and things like that are not perfect in a video. You see that all the time in the stuff that he does, but get out the information. And that is going to be what really attracts people. So I think that's make it, clean up some stuff, get rid of things that aren't working, make sure that your photos look good, at least put a branding statement. You can always change it later, but share information that will actually help people. Be part of Facebook groups and communities, help people. And that is going to be what really moves and propels your personal brand. And one of the things that I actually like to think about your personal brand is it has a compounding effect. That's why it's so important to know what you want to do and start doing it. Start sharing content, sharing information. You don't even have to create your own content at the very beginning. You could share information that you find online and give people, hey, I saw this article and here's my take on it. What do you think? So that's also sharing your personal brand, because people will be like, wow, he's such a great curator of content.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways to do it. You just need to start.
And I think people like the vulnerability of being able to watch people go on this journey. So sort of to see them sort of starting out on their personal brand and making a few mistakes in a video. But as you say, as long as the content is giving resource help, I think it's attractive seeing that vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I don't hate Gary Vee, but I'm just using an example. It's good. It's a good example.
It's a brilliant example. In fact, Stephen agrees with you. He says he loves Gary Vee as well. Abrasive, but he says exactly what he thinks without the filter. So this has been absolutely brilliant, Claire. It's very clear that we all need a personal brand and why it matters, and actually how it could go against us in a negative way if we just ignore it and don't do anything about it. It's been delightful, Claire. To remind everyone, if they're wanting to get onto one of your courses or to get some of your help, onto one of your programs, should I say, where do we need to go to?
ClaireBahn.com. So ClaireBahn.com.
And if we're looking for getting into online dating, where do we go to for that one?
You go to Online Profile Pros.
Cool. That's in the States, is it?
Yeah, it is. Well, we help people for the photography portion that is in the United States only, but we do help people with their profiles, and we have dating coaching, and that can be anywhere.
Well, there we go. 2 for the price of 1.
There you go.
It's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. If you were listening, watching, please do. If you've got questions afterwards, please do put them on the chat. I'll put some links in the show notes afterwards as well. But really, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all soon. Thanks, Claire. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers. You've been listening to the Johnny Ross Audio Experience. Thanks so much for joining me. If you want to continue the conversation, head over to my website, fleek.marketing, or find me on LinkedIn. That's all for today. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, tag me in your social media posts, and please leave me a review on iTunes. It will make a huge difference for me. I will see you soon.